some state we have that.
Yeah.
It's really more scarce than you see for the rest. So I can't say how many times I didn't want to get rid of her, but now I've had her, almost 3 months. The thing is if you don't take it out, you don't do well, it's kind of where she's at. She's charging. I know. Go ahead, call the we're going to start with the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll entertain public comment from the floor on agenda items, only 2 minutes per speaker, 10 minutes total. Is there any comments from the floor? Yes, and then we'll move on. Move on the minutes. A lot of content there. There was one. Make a motion for the minutes. A second. Yep. So there's a question there. What's the question? Approving the minutes, and all of them try with the 2, 3, 4, and then we 3 to approve the one. Or you can approve the minutes without voting. Well, I think that's right. Motion made, second, all in favor? And that's 2-0. Understand motion to pay the claim.
I make a motion to claim, another time. $85, 647, 647, right then. And then the other side, yeah, the 647.
I'll second. We got motion second, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Next item is schedule update from Tony Friday and Brad Jackson.
Thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight. I apologize ahead of time, I'm losing my voice, but we've got some exciting things to share with Tyco. It's been a year, almost to the day that we restarted the services at Tyco and got back to providing economic development services throughout Syracuse County. And I'm just really proud of the team and the way that we've interacted with our communities throughout the county. We provide basic economic development services, attraction services. I think the biggest win this year so far has been Slade Auto. They will occupy the former LNC campus. Hopefully, as the build out occurs over the next year, we'll employ between 1,800 and 2,000 people. Yesterday, we were proud to announce AutoCam, an orthopedic manufacturer that's building a brand new building along Route 30. So we're just really excited about being able to partner with the state of Indiana, the Northeast Indiana Partnership, and all of our other partners to attract prime projects throughout the county. Business retention is also a very large part of our day. We want to make sure that as we attract new businesses, we are taking care of the businesses that are here. Because every community across the country is dealing with housing, we've gotten pretty creative. We signed an MOU with Heather Presley Collins Group called 720, and we offer attainable housing services throughout the county. We have 7 communities that have stepped up and said, help us find available land in our municipality throughout the county that we can start to build attainable housing. And when I say attainable, we're talking about between the 300 to 350 price range. Because of work with Club 720 in buying down the cost of those mortgages, acquiring land at a much cheaper rate, we're able to get those mortgages down to where they're more attainable to our teachers, our policemen, fire, those people that we want to attract and live here. We also have a great relationship with Plug and Play. Those cohorts that are coming from across the world, we are working with them as they go through that Plug and Play process, with the end goal, obviously, we want to locate them somewhere within the county. We've been very successful. We have a meeting tomorrow morning with some investors that might be interested in pursuing that. So that's kind of the entrepreneurship and innovation piece. I sit on a lot of committees, the CAP program that you're familiar with, that you've applied for, the $30 million from the state of Indiana. There's a portion, as you know, that comes back to the small communities throughout the county. So, and I believe Town Manager Wilkinson has given you kind of an overview of the interactions that Texas had with the town of Syracuse over the last year, and we want to continue that in any way that we can serve you and your constituents. We're here tonight to ask you to consider investing in Texas. We ask the municipalities of ward pass a resolution at the beginning of the year to make it fair for all communities and affordable. We ask you to consider 5.5% of your edit funds. And I believe that is in the packet as well. That's what we ask for is the municipalities that choose to invest with us across the board. We do a lot of work with our manufacturers and our ag community, and we just want to continue to provide those services that will help Copiasco County grow. Our mission is to create wealth for the people that live here, the businesses that choose to locate here. And I think this past year, May 7th, we've done a really good job and a good start. There's a lot of work yet to be done, but just really proud to be part of the community and really excited about the future of Texas.
I'd just like to add, I've lived in Syracuse since high school, so for over a decade I've been here, at least. And I know sometimes there's this Syracuse Warsaw thing. And I guess the way I look at it is being from Syracuse, that rising tide raises all ships. You know that. And so Slate Auto going into Warsaw, that's great because, you know, there's going to be other businesses that are needed to support it. There's going to be people that don't want to live in Warsaw, that want to live in Syracuse area, the Lake area, whatever. So, I mean, what's good for Warsaw, what's good for any part of the county is good for Syracuse, in my opinion. That's why the counties chose to invest heavily in Kedco. And you talk about retention. I mean, we have Hollywood here, but a lot of people don't know how close we came to losing Hollywood because South Carolina, or North Carolina, really rolled out the red carpet for them. They do have a plant there. I remember it wasn't that long ago, I think Doug Raffey was here with me last time we gave this pitch, one of the founders of Hollywood, which is a huge employer, obviously, in the town, that I have extruders coming. And we had some issues to work through, and we worked through it with him. here's what Doug told me personally. He said, I have extruders coming. He says they're gonna go to Syracuse if we can get a problem solved. They're going to North Carolina if we can. He says there's tons of land down there, it's all ready to go. And the government down there really rolls up the red card forms and Jack Wells. So I think it's a very good investment. As a Syracuse resident.
No,
Could
give it a question.
you detail a little bit how you played out over the work okay, go process there?
Sure. One of the things that I was handed when I came a year ago was to work on building that particular, campus. And so, we met with a developer, the Phoenix Group purchased that, and it closed, at the end of 2023. And working with the Phoenix Group, helping them navigate the state of Indiana, helping them with the incentive package, the county. It took about 10 months for us to land that project. And,
And you feel like Kidco did that, or the county did that?
No. It was a team effort, but led by Kidco, for sure. The county has had an abatement program, but it wasn't up to date. So Kidco, helped them rewrite the abatement program, helped them through that process of navigating how to negotiate, so that the county was made whole, through that process. And even though they offered the abatement, there are milestones that Slate has to meet. Should they not meet those, then the county has the option of putting that abatement. So we help them work through that abatement process. We assembled a team. The hard part about economic development is people think that it's like a secret society. We sign NDAs with these companies, and we're prohibited from talking in public about those projects. So I don't think that, and I know Brad has seen some of the things behind the scenes, how hard an economic development corporation works to attract those projects. Because there's always ups and downs. We help them to negotiate, the issues with the state of Indiana. There's still a couple things hanging out there. They would like to be able to sell those new vehicles online. And in the state of Indiana, they would need an exception to do that. So working with the legislators, helping them also with, connecting them with local vendors. A big project like that will definitely come with their own GMs and some of their own vendors, but connecting them with the local folks that can fill in those gaps, all across the county. So it was a good 10 months of working with the county as a liaison between the county, the state of Indiana, and Slate. And so just really excited, the innovation, and it wasn't easy. Those kinds of projects, anything can happen. It came down to us and another state in the south, and a lot of those southern states have a lot more incentives to throw at it. But our proximity to Detroit, the rail system that went through there, and I'd say that the biggest story is that LSC Donnelly plant only stayed vacant for about 10 months before we had a new leader. So I think that's a great testimony to the county working with Slate and then Texas just being all around there.
I would add, if I could add, I was commissioner during a lot of this happening. As much as I'd like to take credit for that, it wouldn't happen without Petco, period. And now I'm the president of Petco, and I see all the behind the scenes stuff. I was getting calls, and you reach out and try to make this happen, because there's a rule they made, it's not too far in the weeds, they made an exception for Tesla's available dollar line that was very narrowly crafted, so that basically no other company could fit that exact bill. One of the big auto dealers on the Fort Lane has a cottage on the lake. I don't know who that is, on several dealerships. I talked to him about it, because he was opposed to it, because, he has a brick and mortar store. But very reasonable about it. And we talked to Congressman Yawkin, we reached out to Congressman Stutzman, Senator Mishler, Senator Snow. So there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff to try to bring things together. But like I said, if they didn't have a good county to sell a good product, they couldn't do it. If we didn't have as a county Petco, and years ago, it was just, how much time do we have? All right. So probably 25 years ago, we had KDI, Scottsdale County Development Incorporated, and we were getting ready to get $30,000 a year. A long time ago, I don't remember exactly what. And finally, I made a motion. I said, look, I said, we're just wasting the money. I said, let's either fund them so they can do something, or don't fund them at all. But this in-between thing, just to make people happy, so it's the all defense to jump on one side or the other. And we decided that year we went from like 30,000, again, it's a long time ago, we gave office space, in the justice building, and, I think we stepped it up like 120,000 from 30 in 1 year. So the county believes that, and I think I have a reputation of being pretty tight with tax dollars, I think. And I wouldn't agree to give them a dime if I didn't think we're getting a lot. Plain and simple.
So what are we doing with Hollywood now? I mean, they're currently shipping at least 20% out of North Carolina. They built a new building down there. What can you do here for Hollywood?
Well, we can provide housing. I think that's the biggest concern of Hollywood is that the majority of their employees travel, I think it's within 20, 25 minutes to work. And they would love to have the ability for their folks to live in Syracuse and much closer. So we're working with them, on an attainable housing project with bringing in a corporation, again, creating some buy-in from the community and the businesses, but also helps to buy down the cost of some of those mortgages. Ryan sits on the Petco board as well.
Who that?
The president of Hollywood.
Okay.
Ryan Zimmerman.
Ryan Zimmerman sits on our board as well, so we have contact with him quite frequently. But I think housing and having a place for their folks to live is one of their top concerns right now.
I can give you another one. Here's the big one. We're their landlocked. I mean, we had to tear out a nice bowling and to give them a place for a building.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, that was nice of you. That was a smart move too, because that would have, you literally, that's not a bluff. That building would have been in North Carolina had you not done that. So, thank you all for doing that for our community. But somehow, because I worked on this back since Ron Robinson was county administrator, so it's been a while ago. We went to talk to the people, but we've got to get the next property over, the property, to agree to sell so that they can expand out to the west. I mean, because they're landlocked. So that's the biggest thing, because right now, if they wanted to grow, they can't grow. They got railroad tracks, they got whatever's to the north, state lanes.
Who knows?
Yeah, they got housing to the east, and, so we've been even off here, just a quick thought, and I think it's a great idea, if we could go, like, leapfrog over that farm, and what we tried talking into doing, which would make our property so much more valuable, is just put a road across their property to the next property, and Hollywood expand there, and then eventually you could backfill in between, if that makes sense. But by adding a road, sewer, water, right down, on the north side of the track, and that's another thing with that, the county wants to do, but kind of the same thing. You know how tight that is at Acorn Street where you go over the track? I mean, you can't get a lot of trailers over that, it's so short, you can't take it anyway. We want to move, we've already got plans drawn and everything, go about, I don't know, 8 miles or so, which goes on to the property. Because you notice that Syracuse Milford Road, spreads apart from the track out until you go west. So where we're talking about, you could stack at least 3 semis between the tracks and the new road. So if that makes sense or not, that's what we're trying to, I say we're still part of it, but we were trying to, commissioner trying to accomplish, but it all came around getting that land.
Yeah.
Does that make sense what I just said, describing that?
Yeah, a little
And
bit.
close Acorn Street, so Acorn Street could be closed, and then both go down to the west and far enough where it spreads out, where you can give them some land to build on and give a much, much safer crossing.
Can you and I sit down sometime and talk about that?
Yeah.
The two of us.
Absolutely. You got my number. Or you don't, I got yours. I'll text it to you.
Yeah, send it over to me because, we've been trying to work on some projects similar to that.
Yeah, I don't have any authority to county anymore.
I understand.
I still know some people.
Yeah, I understand.
So, yeah, I'll text you. Your phone silent?
It is right now.
Yeah.
It's my buzz, so that's about it.
Any other questions? I think it's a good investment. Like I said, when you have the founder of Hollywood here the last time pitching for it, I think you get a bigger, whatever, order than that.
Yeah, he's kind of out now, isn't
He likes to be
He's
cool.
slowing down. I had lunch with Mark today, Mark Phillip, on the other founder. He's pretty much sober. He's selling antiques.
he? Yeah, it's been for a while.
I have a question. Hey, you brought up plug and play and retention, attraction, and location. And they're serving as somewhat of an investment vehicle, but what is the retention and how many companies have they landed through them solely to be in the county, more specifically outside of Warsaw?
Well, they're still new to this process. We had the, opportunity, at their invitation last week to go out to Plug and Play. They have a semi-annual summit where they bring in all of their investors, their cohorts, the different verticals throughout the country, whether it's commercial, retail, food, ag, sports. And, the vertical here is relatively, they're looking for that uniform. We're working with, 4 of the cohorts from the past and the current group that are seriously interested in looking at Warsaw. The problem is as they go through the process for 6 months and they're ready to pitch, they still have to raise money. And that's where a lot of them are right now, is finding those investors and getting the capital to do the testing and, the research that's necessary. What I've realized here is that we are the orthopedic capital, but there are pieces of that puzzle that, are being serviced in other parts of the country. And so if we could somehow, as the city of Warsaw builds their innovation center, the business center, as Grace evolves, with their major, and builds their innovation center, if we could somehow attract that research piece and the development piece to be in Osceola County, obviously that would be our goal. But we know that because now Fishers is part of the plug and play, ecosystem within orthopedics, we've got that whole Route 30 corridor where we could connect with Fishers and then grow all of the things that I think we're missing. And so that research and development piece, I think, is huge. But right now, the cohorts are having to go through that exercise of testing, getting certifications, and raising money. And some of them, I know one of them has temporary office space within the environment building. A couple of them are using our second floor as their workspace. But because this program is so new, we have yet to actually place a company with brick and mortar in within the county.
Another one we've been working with in Leesburg, where the old John Deere dealership was, and the grocery store now, and behind there are incubators where different size rental units that they can, business, I need just basically a 2-car garage, now I need this, and they can basically take them through several steps of growth to get their, roots growing down deep in the house, down to the door, because I'm on the utility needs and different needs there. So I guess I would say this, we have a great county, we've got a great tax rate, we've got a great, I think, climate, great place to live. And I think, I know this is past commissioner, and you guys are in the same boat. You're doing the job of approving claims, running the town, we're doing running the county, making an attractive place, and you get these people coming to look. I don't think any of you guys have time, I don't, to go and spend days on end with these people. But that's what it takes to get them here and keep them here. To keep our current business and to get new business. So,
On the phone for a couple hours today doing that.
yeah, but you can't spend 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, I think 5 days a week dealing with it. And these guys are spending, I talk to them at night, but I get emails and texts late at night. And so the point is, we've got this great place. We need to finish it, by having a good, I call our county sales people. That's a lot of money. And those closers too, to put these deals together, because when they come, they got all kinds of questions. And take somebody that's done it. Peggy did a great job in Rochelle, Illinois, with what she developed there. If you ever look back at that, her track record is amazing. And she came here, and I'm telling you, she can ground running.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's some things we need to talk about that, which probably isn't the right forum to do it in, but, you know, even more research is great.
Any other questions else to add?
all right, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you
honored to be
very
here.
All right. Ordinance 25.
Wait, do it,
I'm pretty sure it did.
If not, I can get some names.
Yeah, I'll make sure you guys did that. What's the school committee, please?
That would be,
Majority, right?
At the last month's meeting, me, Jim, and Dave were talking about, the new Tahoe, that we want to take it out of from appropriation. And in order for Jim's budget to doesn't get exceeded so much, we're taking some, money out of the general fund to put into, like, reimburse it.
Okay.
So we had the advertising between last month's meeting and this meeting. So now that we advertise it, now it's going to be different, because you guys did agree to do it.
I'll entertain a motion to approve additional appropriation for ordinance 2025-08 in the amount of $1,555.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Right? Okay. Well. All right, ordinance 25-09, fair housing ordinance update.
Okay, so, part of our Oprah grant application, MACOG asked us to they took a look at our fair housing ordinance, which is required as part of the application, and ours is a little, antiquated, and so there's some new language that they, advised us to insert in there that met modern, fair housing standards. And so, they said some, sample ordinance from another community, or Jay drafted this new ordinance for your review.
Yeah, I don't mind approving this, but could you send me, or highlight in the new ordinance what's different than the old?
It will take a little while.
Yeah, I mean, not this very minute, but.
But yeah, I mean, I can tell you, it's just basically modernizing the language of what is acceptable fair housing.
Right.
Acceptable.
You can see, highlight the new, is different than the old, so we can at least know what it was versus what it is.
And this was written by,
This is MACOG.
okay.
They put this together for, obviously, a lot of communities, they update that stuff, as instead to update their language. They prepare this so communities can be in compliance with federal guidelines.
Did you do that the other day?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, thanks.
But they actually need this approved tonight.
That's okay. I still want to.
No, that's fine, I'll forward the information to you. It's just very subtle language, just about fair housing and who should be included in that. It's just like two-line changes, essentially, in the middle of the ordinance, so. Yeah, I'll do it.
Two line changes?
It's very small, changes, but
Yeah, if you could do that.
yeah.
I'll move to approve ordinance 2025-09.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye. All right, ordinance 2025-10, redistricting map approval.
I know the decision was made at the meeting last month. This is an ordinance that would, arrange for, there to be two, at-large seats and 3 district seats. You have seen a variety of maps that came from, Mr. O'Bannon circulated those. I have no input as to which, maps you use, but the set of maps that you wish to use should be attached to this ordinance and then passed. And it will then set up the, structure for what your elections are gonna look like, in 06 and 07.
So I think everybody's had these maps emailed, there's a little bit of discussion. Got one that really doesn't work because, yeah, it's not gonna work. And then the other 3, is there any comments on people's feelings on these other 3?
Well, when I originally looked at it, and I haven't looked at it for a while, but I talked to I can't remember his name, the man that came up with these maps, and, it seemed to me that based on whatever reasoning, 200 plus people that are going to be that are in 3 are not included in this because they weren't annexed, I guess, at the time in 2020. And it seemed to me that map 4, was the best representative map if we're trying to make the district more or less even. That seemed to me to be and when you included the 200 plus, that was, and I think that's why he made that number 4, was to try to represent that.
And constitutionally, that's your, general guideline, which you are trying to make your districts as close to one person, one vote equal between the districts.
Yeah, and that seems to me like that's the closest, by the numbers that were provided to us, that were in each district.
Well, actually, all 4 to get the biggest, and kind of a bigger disparity. So this one's lower, so you're saying that.
I was basing mine on, well, the numbers, because this is lower, but it really includes 200 some more than is included in this number.
Okay.
So when you add the 200 to 991, yeah. And that, the other factors that he included were beyond my skill grade.
David, are these like the final?
Yes, that was the 4 options they're offering.
The only reason I asked is I particularly like 2, just because I feel like it's an equal representation of each district with a mix of town properties and then waterfront properties. But hearing what Paul's saying, you wouldn't want to see that landed, I don't think, on population, although I think I'm hearing you, Jay, saying it doesn't matter because our obligation is based on the census that was last done and not what's happened since then. Is that right?
That's a tough question to answer because the census presumably actually reflects how many people you have in the district. And that's the reason why you go back to the census. This is a situation, or maybe a situation, where you know that the numbers have changed since the last census.
We do know that.
Yeah. And so if you know that, again, your goal is to try to make districts even, though it does not have to be, you don't have to make sure it's 297 and 298 and 297. You don't have to be that exact, but the goal is to be relatively close in that. I'm not going to tell you that because again, Bannon knows this as well. I don't think he is going to send you any maps which will not pass constitutional muster.
I think, though it's not here tonight, but I think he reflected that was his thinking also, and before his wife and all that gone down.
So what number are you thinking? You're in favor of?
Or,
Is this one?
well, I think that was the one that seemed like they were closest to being, with that 200 plus being the closest to being even. I didn't look
Yeah,
at
but
it.
didn't they say 3 and 4 were about the same?
The 3 wasn't a whole lot.
This is a 2% population deviation, this
Oh.
is a 2% population deviation, 8. But these
But-
two are 8.
Yeah,
So if you're saying, where you're talking about current crossing, it'd be at a population that would have been in the census, so if that's the case, then that number would be like 200. So.
Prince Crossing, essentially, urban Oaks.
It's hard to tell on this map, do you know where Urban Oaks would fall on this map? That's in Boston.
I think Boston and Hollywood Way is probably right there in 3.
You got it here, right here.
So in 3,
Correct.
no,
Yeah, Hollywood Way.
okay.
And Boston.
Well, you moved to 3.5, I'll entertain a motion for preference.
I've made the motion that we attach map number 4 to the ordinance 2025-10.
Is there a second?
I'm gonna vote against it. This,
Motion for that.
I'm gonna vote against the ordinance. Just like I did before.
Well, ordinance isn't, are we,
Oh,
He's moved to approve the ordinance, and as part of the ordinance, this is the map right there. So, yeah, this would be an ordinance.
okay.
right? Okay, got a motion and a second for ordinance 5-10, attaching map 4 to this ordinance. All in favor? All against? 3-1.
Right.
Your signature, and if you could grab one copy of the map, and the people that are voting yea, if you put your initials on the side of the map, so there'll be a physical record that that's the map that was approved.
Just like here.
Yeah.
So Jay, Bill's district eliminated, my district eliminated. Obviously, we both still live in a district, because I guess mine is still District 1. And Bill will be, what, District 2? And so, our primaries in May, general elections in November, so we don't run. In our primary?
No, the two,
Or we run in, primary for the district.
you have 2 at-large seats, which will be, those seats will be for the folks whose electoral terms otherwise would have ended at the end of 2026. Who ran in 2022?
It's Larry and I.
Yeah. Those are the 2 seats that are in fact.
Or I'm sorry, Colin, I not Bill.
Yeah, those are the seats that would be come up vacant. Now, those seats on the council will be vacant seats, they will be at-large seats beginning in January 1, 2027, and the election would have to be at-large for 2026 for those 2 seats you were called.
And then the following year, I would run for District 1.
Or you could. If you weren't already city council, if you're a town council and for at-large, right now, your seat will end in 2026, period. Your term ends then. If you get elected to an at-large seat in 2026, you would start a new term in 2027. If you do not get elected in 2026, well, then you still could run again in 2027. If you were elected in 2026, there would be no reason for you running in 2027, because you would have to resign your old council seat to start serving in your new council.
Which is possible.
It's possible,
Yeah, that's just doable.
All right. Thank you for the explanation. Moving on, tax abatement approval.
I'll give you a summary of all the, tax abatement TF1s that were received from the 17 eligible tax abatements that is over the years. This is just an annual renewal. approval, for the council.
Substantial compliance.
Correct, this is substantial compliance that they are meeting the terms of the original.
If you wanna do that, or else you can make a motion that we find all of these substantially compliant,
Yeah, I've reviewed them all, I feel that they're all.
instead of doing each individual.
I think we can, I have no issue with any of them, so you can approve them all.
Is that what you need, did I make that motion?
Fine with me.
Okay.
1 through 17.
1 through, yeah, all of them that are included here.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Happy? Thank you. And the Commonwealth Engineering Report.
They're not.
Department report, David.
First, any questions on my report? So I'll revisit the, question of the alley beside the hardware store, whether you wish to turn that pedestrian only, or leave it in form, or it's open to more vehicle traffic. This project is kind of paused and pending, waiting on your decision on that.
I know Bill's not here, obviously, but I think Bill, Chris, you talked with you, correct? Okay. So I think pending that, I don't know if there's any hurry.
No, there's no hurry.
Wait, table it till next month, that would be my recommendation. And then,
Yeah, we've talked to, one of our restaurant get help somebody.
Yeah, no, or those who they alley, you know, as of right now, maybe in the future, 10 years from now, or so, there might be a change of date, but right now, you saw the press release that I put together that had pictures of the line in front and stuff. And I also put, that when Hollywood was now, I mean, virtually gridlocked, and we almost had to have that for like an emergency outlet at times, like the fact that we use it for, taking merchandise back down the alley and stuff. And we also have customers that just pull in the alley and we just give them merchandise and just shoot back down the alley, so. Now I contacted a couple other individuals. One was Steve Spider, and he was not contacted about closing the alley, and he said he wouldn't be favorable towards that. And I also contacted the people from down under, and they said they would not be favorable for closing the alley. So if we take what we had at the last meeting, being short, you know, a couple people, we're, you know, right in the balance of should we close it or should we not. And with that being said, usually, well, at least with the BZA, if you end up having a tie or somewhere close to that, they stay with what was previously there, which means that alley should be left the way it is until, further notice on it.
Do you use this after hours at all? I mean, I assume after 5 or 5:30, you don't.
Right, after 5:30 or so.
Well, we talked about people walking at night, especially, and
Essentially, right.
I mean, if you wanted to close it possibly after hours, but I would still contact people that have waitresses and stuff to see how they feel about that. One time we had a couple vagrants uptown, and they were scaring the waitresses, and finally they had enough on them that they got them out of the area. And they were just hanging around at night inside the Pickwick building and stuff, and so I'm not for having areas where people can get, hoodwinked on something like that.
was it, when you talked with Bill, or wasn't there a statement that you were willing to provide lighting?
I would consider that.
That would certainly make it a lot safer passage if it was well lit.
I mean, is there anybody up here who's in support of closing the alley?
When someone first mentioned it, I didn't think they used it anymore. So I thought, oh, I've been up there with my grandkids, we got through there, but after hearing everything, I'm fine leaving it open.
Why leaving it open?
I'll entertain a motion. Formal action, but if there's no formal action, do you want?
You don't need, you're not changing the status quo, nobody makes a motion, the status quo is there.
I'll entertain a motion. Is there a motion?
Well, I'll make a motion, we just leave it open for now.
Well, it's already open.
Well, we leave it open for now. Because it keeps coming up for conversation. And if we make a motion that we leave it open, then maybe the conversation's over for a while.
Well, it's
I
kind
know
of,
we send a message that we're not gonna close it.
all I can tell you has no legal significance. I mean,
That's
that's
okay.
a motion, that's fine, but there's no legal significance, because you're not changing anything.
Yeah, they said they entertain a motion, so I mean,
Okay. Motion, is there a second? Okay, seeing none, moving on. All right.
The only other thing I have is, I sent you a note about this earlier, so I'm having, absolutely no luck replacing, Scott as the building inspector code enforcement position. We've advertised it for weeks now, weeks and had virtually not no feedback from anyone. Couple inquiries, but nothing solid.
Should ask Brad when he.
he's retired.
So Jim and I have talked, and we've got multiple large construction projects coming up between the school and the RV park, Urban Oak, Dr. Allen, and on and on. Those are going to keep the building inspector quite busy for the next couple of years. We also have numerous code violations going on all the time. And so, our request, I think would have no problem keeping the person that is to change that position full time. Because, like I say, we're just getting busier and busier. I field questions every day on behalf of the building inspector, Mark, Jim takes questions about, enforcement all the time. Even when he's here 3 days a week, the days he's not here, I'm filling questions or complaints. Just in the last year, Scott alone as part-time took over 200 reports in his part-time role. So at full-time, there would just be no question that person should stay fully employed and fully busy. There wouldn't be a lot of just wasted gaggle sitting around time. So, right, and so another thought is, we were having conversations about enforcing, the transient, vendor ordinance and such, especially on Saturdays. So we split his time between a half day during the week and a half day on Saturday to, kind of police that business, issue as well.
With the job that we're, the part-time that you're advertising, what's the pay on it?
It varies by, so I think Scott was making $22 an hour, $25 an hour. I think it was 20, yeah, 22. So, so, we were fortunate, I guess, to have Hal for 20 plus years. So this never came up, and then Hal had to retire. Tom, who came from Milford, just as a fill-in, helped us out for a couple months until we were able to find Scott. Scott's been here for 2 years now. Scott has left. Tom's helping out again, but we've only got him for a couple more weeks. And finding somebody like Scott is hard. It's somebody that's semi-retired, available to work part-time, with the skill base that is required to be a building inspector especially, is very difficult.
If you make it full-time, do you have a wage in mind that it would take? I mean, what does the person?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, we'd have to fill that out. At this point, I don't have a good wage, what that might require for somebody with that skill set.
When you say full-time, are you talking about 40 hours or are you talking about 32?
40. I mean, 32 is the minimum for federal level, I understand that. Yeah, correct. But yes, I'm, full-time just with regular benefits like anyone else. I'm confident that between Jim and I, we could keep them quite busy. Because otherwise, I'm not sure what we're going to do in about 2 weeks, because we'll have no building inspector.
So outside of, the decision tonight, without any kind of framework for council from a wage or salary, where does that leave us?
I guess just if you're willing to entertain it, I will build a package for you and try to decide, come to a understanding what that might look like.
Yeah, I would say, let's look at what it's gonna look like.
Okay.
Yeah, I would, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay, Chief Lane.
Any questions on my report? Right. The only thing I have is, we do have the new vehicle, it's at the outfitter. Estimating probably a month and a half to get it outfitted, everything put in and added to it, so, that's where we're at right now. All I have. Thank you.
There's been a semi regularly parking on Miller Street, but in the whole truck, it's at least a tractor, it keeps parking there.
What time?
I usually see it on weekends.
Okay. I may know who it is, can't say for sure who, but.
It's probably the same.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Mr. Chad, you're up.
Yeah, well, I started staying up and had to sometimes. Just a couple things, 11th annual Mud Test Classic is this Saturday at WACF property. About 250 registered runners currently, they get from at the end of the week and then walk up, so. Anticipating about 300 participants in that event. Street Department was out, dug us a cut for a slide, and Nikki's gonna help us out with some water, so kind of working with a variety of people to get that done. So, it's a good time, and hopefully, we don't, get too hot before it goes. Farmers market, is actually really up this year compared to the last couple of years. There's about 20 vendors a week, which is considerably up from last year, which I think is a good thing. We've also seen quite a few more shoppers. Finally, the fourth of 5 tournaments is this weekend up at the Schrock Complex. Anticipating over 30 games, which is quite a bit for our fields, 10 games over 2 days on 3 fields. So, it's gonna be a busy day up there as well. So, busy weekend at Parks this weekend.
Friday and Saturday?
Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, so it starts Saturday, 9 a.m., and then come back Sunday, I think it starts 10, something like that. So until 7 o'clock or 7 or 8 o'clock on Saturday night, start back up Sunday morning.
Chad, you have 20 vendors, how many spaces do you have?
We can do up to like 30. So I think last year at this point, we were doing like 16, so we're up quite a few vendors on average, so far.
Yeah, I was just thinking it would be a good place to promote, the reporters get that up.
Got a question for you.
Yep.
I was at the work park
Yep.
with my kids last
Yep.
week, and I didn't notice any, but do you have any security cameras in any of our parks?
We don't,
Like that?
we don't, we've talked about that as a whole organization a couple times of what to do with that. We did have some across the street in the pavilion, and they were knocked off with skateboards and a variety of things from behind, so we've not done that, but we are considering as a whole organization doing some of that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't anything alarming, but there was a few things that I thought of when
Yeah,
I was there that I
it's
thought
hard.
would be handy to have.
At one time, there was gonna be Wi-Fi at Lakeside Park,
There's Wi-Fi at that one.
so it'd be easy to put cameras up there.
Yeah, yep,
Okay. Thank you.
yep.
Mark?
Any questions on my report? I did have an employee, celebrate his 35th anniversary with the town, Mr. John Montgomery. I missed it, I had a lunch appointment. He's a good man to have around, very knowledgeable, and
To say he has a history of the system is understatement. 13 days will be relieved of our compliance period, and they've reordered. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I won't get too excited. But to have that, whole ordeal behind us completely will be a relief. So, and that's all I have.
Thanks for getting us through the science.
It's a team effort.
Yeah, we extend our gratitude for John's longevity with the town.
He likes what he does. He's proud of what he does. My opinion, he's too grouchy to quit. He's a great guy, and he's done a great job all the years, and enjoys what he does. So.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Chief Scott, oh, clear highlight.
Any pictures, any questions on the fire department report? First of all, we'd like to thank the community for their support during the recent, picture donation program. We received a huge support from our community, which is great. We just want to thank you for that. Speaking of which, the pork chop barbecue fire department is coming up July 5th. Prices will be the same as last year. Pork chops and chicken are $7, corn and $1, still drive through like it always has been. Next thing is fireworks displays. Syracuse Lakes on the 4th, Lake Wallace on the 5th. Alternative dates are 6th and 7th, respectively.
Can you look the time on the first one?
It starts only at approximately 10 a.m.
So, I tend to.
Oh, no. And we have good community support with that. We've been doing that for, I know, at least 25 to 30 years.
You make it so easy on you.
That's the whole idea, is to make it easy for everyone. Any further questions on our report?
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any questions on my report? Also, next Friday is Tim's last day. He's retiring. So we're going to have a luncheon here at noon. If everyone wants to come. Social Friday, well, she just, she doesn't like the attention on her. But she said, I think she was a cook office for 17 years. And she was, before that, she was with their coach's office for a while. And she's going to come on the calendar.
Number 27.
I thought the first week was just a Saturday thing,
It was,
but it wasn't.
but more people are inquiring about it.
Okay, okay, good, I'm looking.
They'll be here.
All right, perfect, thank you. Mr. Jay?
I've already discussed everything that I need to say.
Okay. Thank you. I'll entertain public comments from the floor on non-agenda items.
Well, since we're talking about some great employees, I'd like to acknowledge some of our employees. And, you know, an awful lot of time, they feel like they're just doing their job. So whether it's out sawing water meters on the coldest day of the year, but 2 weeks ago on Sunday, the Syracuse Police Department responded just outside the town limits to assist the Kosciuszko County Sheriff's Department. What they encountered was heartbreak for parents, a very tragic situation for siblings, but as far as a citizen, I'd like, you know, Chief Lane to make sure that he passes on to Syracuse 8 and Syracuse 4 our appreciation, I'm sure I can speak for everyone, of their efforts in attempting to save a young life. And Chief, if you could also pass on to the EMS teams, fire teams that were on duty, or any volunteers that were there at the scene. It's part of the public servants that we don't see that often. And when citizens see them, it's their worst day. And that day was very sad for that family. So thank you, both chiefs, and pass on to your team the appreciation. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, we're looking for a building inspector.
You wrote me into that area plan commission BZA thing already. I got too much going on.
Any other comments for this one? Seeing none, move on. Any old business? That would be, not old. No old business? Okay. Any new business?
Well, the Kitco did a request for fees for service. What that is.
Well, it's an agreement. Absolutely. We're ready to get, like to discuss them, I'm open to that. Sounds like there's some questions that Larry might have had that you would like to get answers to. Yeah.
Before we sign it.
I think that's why, to get some clarification.
I'm encouraged with, but Brad and I, that was how confusing for us.
Possible.
Right. I mean, are you gonna make this public then, or to the rest of us, Larry? I mean, it doesn't do me any good, it's just, you know, your answers to Jackson. So, I mean, well, we go to the same meeting. Yeah, I don't want to discuss this streaming video.
Well, my thing is here is that they're asking for 5.5% edit, and we're still trying to get a good understanding of what FD1 means to the town, so I think it's a little pretty appropriate to just table it until we understand where all this stacks up. So we really know what we're committed to, and it's a percentage number, but we don't know how big else going to fall out.
You know, Brad has said, you know, I mean, it's just been the county and then there's been Syracuse. And a lot of these things, you know, our population is growing because of annexation, not because of anything else, not because of companies that landed in Warsaw. So, I mean, I don't know how that will impact Syracuse.
I think that's fair.
You know, I mean, some recent conversations I've had with the current county commissioners, is real surprising. So I just wonder what Ketco can do to fix some of that.
Okay. Any thoughts?
And as you said, you know, we need budgeting and stuff, it's still, we don't know how that's gonna end up.
For his agenda, it's just a matter of update, so it's something they're giving us for thought, I guess, so. Do it when we have more information.
I don't think it's going to be very long. So I've got a spot to fill on the zoning board, and I've got an appointment in May. So I'm gonna appoint Jason Miller, who lives at 510 Southwest Coast Drive, MS12, to the zoning board. Pretty common name, I could be named here.
Use the one on Front Street. All right.
Any other new business? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor? Thank you.
That was it.